Welcome to the Fantasy Thinker. I'm Jared, and today I'm going to do something a little special. I didn't have much going on this weekend, so I figured I'd record a video that has been talked about a lot recently, and that is ranking the MALAZAN Book of the Fallen's 10 novels. And I don't often do this kind of thing, but recently I saw a video on my friend Alex's channel at Bookship Banks, and where he ranked them with his brother, and I thought that was a lot of fun. And there's been a lot of talk about this on some of the Discord, the Fireside Discord, about ranking these books. And so I just wanted to give my thoughts on ranking these books. Now, keep in mind that I consider all these books top level fantasy storytelling, top level literature storytelling overall. And of course, and that's my biased opinion. I'm a huge Malazan fan. I've read all the books in Malazan, and I of course I plan to read more when they come out. but out of these, um, it was hard enough putting these in order. I couldn't even imagine like trying to intersperse all the other Malazan books amongst these 10. Like, what are my top 26 Malazan books? Wow. Okay. Or however many there are. I'm not sure the exact amount. But with all that said, let's get into the rankings here. And once again, these are all 5-star books for me. And except for maybe number 10. Maybe number 10's a 4.5. All right. So, uh, and so, the bell curve of where Malazan sits compared to other fantasy books, if I were to do just a top 100, um, fantasy novels, separate novels, then these 10 books would be either in the top 10 as my top 10, or at least in the top 30, I would say, of all fantasy novels that I love and read. And so to rank them by themselves within their own unit um, is unfair to the books that are on the bottom if you look at it that way. But let it be known that all these books are gems, and I love them. So with that said, let's get to the rankings. Number 10, Gardens of the Moon, Stephen Erickson. This is the opening salvo in the series. And this book is the only one that, well, maybe not the only one, but it's the one that introduces everything, and it throws a lot at you. It throws a whole lot at you. And it's a little messier than all the next 9 volumes. And I think that's and there's nothing wrong with that, but I think that it is because of that, it has a little bit, takes a lot to get used to. There's a lot that you can refer. The beauty of the other 9 books is that in a certain way they all eventually come back to something in this book, which is genius. But I do admit it is not the strongest book in the whole series. All right, so now I'm going to get yelled at for the next one by some of my friends. I know that. But number 9 is Memories of Ice. This is the 3rd book in the series, and I thought that this book was, it's great. It's 5 stars, but I also thought there was a lot of slow parts in Memories of Ice, which I enjoyed, but it took a while to get rolling sometimes with some of the storylines in here, especially when you got to Capistan and all those gray swords or whatever they are. So there's a lot of slower points in this book, but of course it ramped up towards the end, and the end is one of the best of all time. It's really cool. But anyways, Memories of Ice for me is number 9. It wasn't the book that won the series over for me when I was reading it. Now, way back when I first read this series, I read this series over like a 12 to 15-year period the first time I read through it. And that included the Esselmont books, of course. And then I reread them starting sometime back in 2019, so 2020. And that only took me 5 years to reread all 16 of the main novels. And the uh, the reason why I explain that is because on the first time reading through these, I took a long time in between books. And so it took me a long time to get through them. And I think Memories of Ice took me a long time to get through. So, anyways, that roundabout way of saying how long things take me to read. But, anyways, so number 8 is House of Chains. Um, and I thought this was it. This one was, once again, 5 stars. Awesome. I love it. I love the new perspective with Casa Oolong in the beginning. Not that, and you love how much you didn't actually like him to start with. But and then I love how it gets into, wrapping up the whole storyline that started previously in book 2. So this is book 4 out of the series, and this was number 8 for me. And I like there was a lot of images in this book that stuck with me, but really the opening salvo with Casa Oolong in the book 1 and having that singular perspective was what really won the book over for me. And then, of course, the awesome wrap up of previous stuff. Okay, with that said, uh, number 7, Dead House Gates. And I know this is a lot of people's favorites, um, and for good reason. Once again, it's a 5-star book. Uh, but this is the book that, when a lot of people had a little trouble with Gardens of the Moon because of all the jumping around, everything thrown at you, and how a little bit of a mess it is, and how you had to memorize all these new stuff. But Dead House Gates for people tightened up the storytelling and gave you this solid, really solid emotional story to follow, um, and on a different continent, and you stayed there, and it was really compact in that way, and it's a great way to determine with this book if you want to go on with the series, really, um, because you're getting a little bit more uh, an idea of what you're in for after reading Dead House Gates. So 10, 9, 8. So this is number 7 for me. Now you can see that the bottom 4 here are basically the first 4 books in the whole series. Now, what does that tell you? In my mind, things get better and better and better as the series goes on, for the most part. Uh, and I think I'm in the minority when I say I like the second half of the series better than the first half, because many people's favorite books are in the first half. But with that said, number 6 is Toll the Hounds. With this is the actual 8th book in the series, so this is the first second half book that I have in the first bottom half of my rankings, if that makes sense. And so Toll the Hounds, once again, 5-star books. I love it. I love how this book ends. Oh, absolutely, like mind blowing, right? Like big epic events happen at the end of this book. With that said, this is a big book. It is long. There are a lot of slow parts in this book that seem to go on for a long time, and I love Erickson's philosophical musings as much as the next guy. I really enjoy it. But for me, that put this one just below the top 5 line at number 6. So great stuff, though. So good. All right. Mm, need a little drink there. All right. So coming in now, breaking the top 5 at so this be number 5. Uh, and th- keep in mind this could change tomorrow. This order because I love all these books so much. All right. Number 5, The Bone Hunters. Yes, I love how the Bone Hunters tied up so many cool storylines in the beginning of the first 5 books, while also launching us into the what would be the start of, you know, the ending and the wrap up in the you know the the peak of the series, and then it's going to start coming down until it gets to its grand finale. But I like how the Bones Hunters wrapped a lot of stuff up, brought a lot of perspective. I really love the long chapters in here with from the soldiers' perspectives. I know some people aren't big on those chapters, but I thought they were outstanding. I loved getting each soldier's story, little short stories within the narrative, and I just thought the Bone Hunters was fantastic. So, and next one here is number. Let's see, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, number 7. 7? No. Number 4. I'm counting backwards. All right, number 4. And a lot of people are going to give me grief for this one because this one is at the bottom of a lot of people's list, and that is Dust of Dreams. And the funny thing is, admittedly, the first time I read this series, I would have put Dust of Dreams at the bottom as well. But I found on a reread that I got so much out of it. And I just love the way he sets up the next book with this book. This is the 9th book in the series. And I love the way how he just sets up the finale with this book. How it once you know really dig deep into it and grasp it, it really comes together. I think it's really solid storytelling in this book, and I found it fascinating, absolutely fascinating when I reread this book, and I enjoyed it so much than the first time I read it. First time I read it, it took me a long time to get through this book, and admittedly, there is some horrific stuff that happens in this book that could be tough to swallow for the first time reader. But the second time I read it, I focused more on the humor that was in the first half of the book, between the soldiers and the armies and the bone hunters, and I, I really this book is high on my list now because of that, and because of how intricately tied into the finale this book was. And so I number yeah that's 9, 8, so that's no 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's number 4 on my list. All right, number 3, Midnight Tides. This is the first of the only of the 5 first novel. This is the 5th book in the series. The only of the 5 first novels to reach my top 5, and that is Midnight Tides, and that is because I just love this setting. I love the setting that this new continent that Erickson brings us to in book 5. I thought it's my favorite setting in the whole in all the settings, which is also I don't think a popular opinion. I think a lot of people prefer Seven Cities or even Darujistan, um, uh, Kennebacus, that Darujistan is on, so. But this novel is, I think, the tightest story that he has in the whole series, and I think it stands alone, uh, which is fascinating. I think this book could almost be read by itself as a standalone. with a few things here and there that you might get lost on, but it's really, really a solid novel all on its own, and I really loved it, and I really loved how this novel took us out of, I think, some comfort zones with the first four, and showed that anything is possible with this series. All right, number two, number two, Reaper's Gale, which once again, I don't know if that's a popular opinion, but anyways, this is basically the sequel to Midnight Tides. um, with some exceptions. This is the with Bone Hunters. This is the seventh book in the series, right? Yeah, and and but this carries on the story from Midnight Tides, and it's big, and it just brings home all the stuff I loved about the setting in Letheri in Midnight Tides with Reaper's Gale, and it introduces just all these ties into the rest of it. It really thrusts forward some of the characters that you got to know in bigger important roles, and just brings a lot of stuff home that I loved. And admittedly, the first time I read it, it wasn't my happiest book. It wasn't my favorite, one of my favorites. And then I went on to reread. It just rocketed past the other ones because of how much I saw was actually going on in this book. And it was just fascinating to me. Fascinating, fascinating, fascinating. Okay, so by process of elimination, um, this this is number one, right? The Cripple God. Uh, and this is number one. It was number one before my first time I read it, and it's number one now, the second time I read it. And there's a reason for that. This book, no other book has really touched me, the ending of this book, the way that this book has. It's just, it really hits me hard both times that I read it, and every time I think about it. Um, and so because this is non-spoiler, I can't tell the specific scene that does that to me, but that is what it is. It's the culmination of all these words, all these 3 million plus words, the culmination of all that wrapped up in this beautiful, beautiful storyline that went on for so long that I enjoyed throughout the whole journey, and it was wrapped up in a way that I just loved. I absolutely loved it. And I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be hard for me to imagine anything that's going to top that book. This book. This is my not only is it my number one in the series, but it's my number one book of all time. This is my favorite book of all time. Like if I was to stop everything and reread one book, this would be it. Um, and yeah, so how much more can I say about this book that I love without giving anything away? Not much, but it's um, it's just crucial to me to have that landing stick, the ending stick, and it's not just you know, a lot of times the book's endings, you can have a plot that's wrapped up nicely, and that doesn't really do it for me. I have to have thematic elements wrapped up nicely, and not well, not nicely. I shouldn't say nicely. I should say wrapped up in a way that makes me think about the story constantly, and that is what the crippled god does for me. I really just always am thinking about this book, and I don't know if there's other books that do that for me. And so until that book comes around, this series and this book is going to be number one for me. All right, so um, I know that's probably quite a different order than what some of you are used to, and so let me know your order below. And yeah, I hope I didn't shock too many with the order that I have right now. And like I said, they're all 5-star books. This order could change anytime except for the Cripple God. That's going to stay number one. I have a feeling that's going to stay number one. But yeah, yeah. Yeah. So without further ado, please be good to each other, and thank you.